Good afternoon, children. Now, again, I am continuing with age of industrialization in history. I hope all of you studied the previous chapter I have given you, portion of the chapter. Now, how the factories came up, you know. Now, how the mills developed, that also I have explained, I hope. Now, the pace of industrial change, the most dynamic industry in Britain was cotton and metal, and at a rapid pace, cotton industry was the leading sector up to 1840. After that, the metals, iron and steel also increased rapidly because of railway expansion. Now, there was a change in traditional industries. New machinery and industries were displaced traditional industries. Now, textiles was a dynamic sector. A large portion of it was produced within domestic unit. At the end of 19th century, less than 20% of the total workforce was employed in technologically advanced industrial sector. Now, without this textile industry, there was food processing, building, pottery, glasswork, tanning, furniture making, etc. Now, technology. How technology took place? Technological changes occurred very slowly. Now, they did not spread large across the country. Why? The cause is that was expensive. Industrialists were cautious about wasting their money. Now, James Watt improved the steam engine produced by Newcomen and patented the new engine in 1781. Matthew Boulton manufactured the new model of steam engine, but this product was not easily accepted by the industrialist. Beginning of 19th century, only 321 steam engines were all over England. Now, typical worker in the mid-19th century was not a machine operator, but the traditional craftsman and the laborer. Now, hand labor and steam power. Under this heading, now we can see that in Britain there was no shortage of worker. Poor peasants and vagrants moved in the cities. Who are vagrants? Vagrants are a person who has no home or job, especially one who begs. You can say beggar. Now, they were employed in the industry, moved to the cities in search of job. They have come to the cities in search of job. Now, supply of workers were more than the requirement, than the demand. So, workers were paid very less for their job. And moreover, the industrialization did not want to introduce machines that got rid of human labor. Once you introduce machine, then you won't need so many human labor. So, and they will have to spend a lot of money, large amount of investment that the industrialists, they didn't want to do. In many industries, the demand for labor was seasonal. Sometimes certain season they used to get their job. Now, handmade products were given preference. Why? Because handmade products were finer quality, and the Victorian Britain, the elite people, they used to use that fine product, and it is much better than the machine finished work. Now, what was the condition of the life of the workers? Since there was an abundance of workers in the market, getting a job was not easy. How they used to get their job? So, they used to get their job in a network, like suppose somebody's relation is working in that factory or friends are working in the factory. Through them, they used to get the job. And seasonal work was another problem. So, I will tell you few points that the life of the workers was so pathetic. Now, after the busy season was over, laborers looked for even odd jobs. After the season was over, naturally they had to have money for their family, so they used to look for the odd jobs. till the end, till the mid 19th century were difficult to find. Though the wages increased somewhat on the early 19th century, but this increase was balanced by an increase in prices of commodity. Prices of commodity was high, even though their payment was little bit increased, but that was balanced in that way. And the income of workers depended also on the number of days they work. Like no work, no pay. If they do not work, so they were not getting the payment for those days. Till the mid 19th century, about 10% of the urban people was extremely poor. Poor workers were forced to live in slums. Now, technology and employment. What was the relation between these two? Fear of unemployment made workers unfriendly to the introduction of new technology. When spinning jenny was introduced in the woolen industry, women who survived on hand spinning, they began attacking those new machines. After the 1840, building activities increased, which opened up opportunities of employment. At that time, roads, railways, tunnel, drainage system, etc. developing. They also needed large-scale employment. Number of laborers employed in the transport factory doubled in 1840, which again doubled in next 30 years. Now the industrialization in the colonies. British colonies like India industrialized with the development of factory industries and non-mechanized sector. Textile industries have major role in the industrialization of India. Age of Indian textile. Now 3 ports, Surat, Musalipatnam and Hooghly. These 3 ports were very important, which were used for trade. You must learn map pointing all those 3 places. Now supply merchants gave advances to the weaver and they obtained the finished woven cloth. At the port, the big shippers and export merchants had brokers who negotiated the price and bought the products from the supply merchants. Now, arrival of European companies. By the 1950s, with the arrival of European companies, the Indians started losing their control over the trade. The European companies were gaining power by securing a varieties of concession from local courts. Some of the companies got monopoly right to trade. All this resulted in a decline in the old ports like Surat and Hooghly, through which local merchants operated. Slowly the local bankers were bankrupt. By the 1740, the gross value of trade through Surat fell to 3 million from 16 million. From 16 million it fell to 3 million. Now while Surat and Hooghly declined, Bombay and Calcutta grew. Now what was the situation of the weavers? As Indian fine textiles were great demand in Europe, East India Company, now they were keen on expanding textile export from India. Before establishing political power in Bengal and Karnataka in 1760 and 1770s, the East India Company found it difficult to ensure a regular supply for export. French, Dutch, Portuguese and labor traders, they competed in the market. Thus the producer had a bargain power. The officials of the East India Company, they faced problem for getting smooth supply of their product, and they also complained about the high prices of the product. Once the company established in its political power, it started to eliminate its competitors and tried to assert a monopoly right to trade. Now it did through the following steps. Now what were the steps they have taken for monopoly trade? Number 1, elimination of existing traders and brokers, the company tried to eliminate the existing trader and broker connected with the cloth trade and establish a more direct control over the weaver. Number second point, prevention of company weavers from dealing with the buyers. Company prevented its worker from dealing with the buyer, and they used to do so directly with them. So today only up to this. Now I must tell you, I think one of you asked me a question from Manchester came to India. I did not come to that point as yet. When I will come to that point, I will explain again next class. And I must mention that, and you all go through the chapter properly, and if any question, you let me know in my next class. And Aryan, Arup Ram, Ayush, Prem Tiwari, Vineet, I hope all of you are studying, practicing your writing, and stay home, stay healthy, do little bit of physical exercises. Okay, today up to this. See you again.